That's right. As we enter a whole new day in trade, let's take a look at the global handover from last night. Now, the US benchmarks did nothing. The Dow was up 0.2%. The Nasdaq was down 0.1%. The S&P was up 0.2%. But for the S&P, that was enough to notch a fresh lifetime high. So that was how the equity markets did. Now, this is because there's a bit of a stalemate on the stimulus, right? There's been a $908 billion stimulus plan proposed. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has rejected this. McConnell believes the next round of stimulus should be nothing more than $500 billion. He believes that's more than enough. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi and leader of the Senate minority, Chuck Schumer, issued a joint statement. They called on the Republicans to work with them on another round of COVID funding. So that's what's got the market in a bit of a stalemate status. Let's remember stimulus is very important for liquidity and in turn for the benchmarks to keep advancing, right? So while the government figures out what exactly it wants to do with the stimulus plan, equities seem to be taking a bit of a breather. This morning, Asia, Japan was down in early trade in the Nikkei. The Topix, however, was up just fractionally. Australian S&P was up 0.4%. And South Korea markets, the Kospi opened late this morning, so we'll bring you some cues from there later on in the day. But it seems that, again, even Asia is looking muted to slightly positive. In Europe yesterday, they closed down by around 0.1%. That's for the Stoxx 600 index. Most of your sectors and major bourses finished the day in negative territory. Now, UK's FTSE 100 was the only major benchmark to buck the trend, up 1.2%. But let's remember that's because the UK yesterday became the first country in the world to say that they will be giving out vaccines on emergency authorized usage. And that'll be the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. So Pfizer stock actually also jumped on this news in the US. But what the good news is that it's not just for medical workers and frontline people. Of course, they'll get access to the vaccine first. But in around 2 to 3 weeks' time, this vaccine will also be made available to the general population. So that's a big major step, and it's impacted the commodity outlook a bit. So if you look at oil prices, yesterday they shot up 2%. Brent is nearly back at 50. It's at $48. WTI is at $45. And obviously it's because if one country can now get access to a vaccine quickly, that means that the other developed nations might as well. And then the outlook for oil drastically improves, right? So also, there's the output deal, which may soon be in the offing, which the OPEC has been discussing for a while. So all this has got oil prices quite upbeat, cumulative gains of 1% yesterday. Then gold steadied near a one-week high on Wednesday. So gold has also been benefiting on the back of the stimulus announcement. Prospects of a coronavirus relief package has reinforced the appeal of gold. Gold is also a great hedge against a likely inflation. If you look at the yields, it seems that, we could be in a situation where we see some inflation, and gold would be a great hedge to have against that. Spot gold was up yesterday nearly 1% to $1,827 per ounce. Prices peaked at $1,832 per ounce before cooling back to $1,827. And then US gold futures settled up 0.6% at $1,830 per ounce.